Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 11th of August, 2021. Right, everyone, let's get into it. So, the, infrastructure bill that we'd been covering over, the last week or so, finally went to the Senate for a vote, and they voted 69 to 30 to pass the bill with the original crypto tax provision intact, which you can kind of see below in this link here. This will be linked in the YouTube description. You can go check that out. And next up, the bill is going to go to the House, which is in recess until September 20th, and we don't know yet if we'll have a chance to make amendments there to be TBD. So this was Jake Chervinksy putting this out. He's been following this, and I've been, talking about his tweets on the Refuel a lot lately. This is the end of the road until September 20th. We're going to see how the House shakes out there. But really, I mean, the House is going to pass this thing. It's just if we're going to be able to get amendments in before they do so for this crypto tax provision. Then if that doesn't work, I think we're just going to have to battle it out in the courts for quite a while to see if we can get the language changed. But the original language was still really, really shitty. Like it wasn't as bad as one of the amendments, but it was really crappy. And that's why there were these amendments, right? But in general, it feels like people have just shrugged this off and been like, okay, well, if you guys are going to treat us like this, then screw you. We're going to outbuild you. We're going to keep innovating here and keep building. The market doesn't really care. And I think people wisened up and were like, okay, well, this doesn't go into effect for 2 years anyway, or till 2023 anyway. And there is still a chance that we can change this. And at the end of the day, a lot of this is unenforceable anyway. So even if the agencies wanted to take enforcement action against certain actors, it pretty much it wouldn't hold up in a court of law because it's impossible to enforce. There's just no, a real way to do this enforcement and basically follow the language of this bill here. So I think, yeah, I mean, yes, there was a lot of noise made about it. Yes, it was good that people called their senators and everything like that. But generally, I'm of the opinion that this is not going to be anything that kills crypto or anything like that. And I feel like there is hope in the House and there is hope in the courts if we have to go there to get these amendments through. So yeah, don't lose hope here. I always look at the markets as kind of like the barometer of this sort of stuff, and if the markets don't care too much, it just seems like really at the end of the day, most people are brushing this off. I think people aren't panic selling, and the markets have been really, really bullish throughout all of this. So it's been great to see that. But yeah, this is going to be, I guess, probably the final word on this until September 20th. So I'll be covering it next month when we get some movement on this. But yeah, for now, it's kind of on ice, I think. So there was a hack or an exploit or whatever you want to call it that went on last night, and it was the biggest kind of exploit in, I think, DeFi history. And I don't even think I would call it a DeFi hack. So what ended up happening was that this thing called Poly Network, so not Polygon, Poly Network, it was like a cross-chain kind of, I guess, bridge protocol or something like that, or it had something to do with cross-chain bridging. And I think there was about $611 million stolen in this hack. So that was obviously very, very big. And, people were watching kind of this play out in real time on chain, where you could actually see what the hacker was doing, kind of where they were sending the funds to. They sent some to Curve, and then they were kind of the USDT that they had got frozen, and someone actually sent a message to them saying, hey, your USDT is frozen, stop trying to move it. And then the hacker actually sent this person 1.337 ETH, yes, which was quite funny. 13.37 ETH, which is quite a lot of money there. It's like 40 grand or something like that. And then that person ended up sending 1.37 ETH to Vitalik or something, or all of it. I don't know, something funny. It was just weird watching this all play out. But in terms of what happened with the actual exploit itself, there's this great thread here from Calvin Victor, who I believe works with Optimism, but he basically explained how the hack worked. Now, the TLDR here is that, I mean, obviously, the code was not correct. It was done in an insecure way. And what ended up happening was that this attacker was able to, where was it here? Basically, without compromising the private key, they were able to craft the right data and just hijack the contract. So essentially, I guess, change the keys in the contract and give them controls over it, and able to kind of steal the funds. Now, I'm probably butchering that explanation there, but this thread goes into detail about it and technical detail as well. But yeah, essentially, this was quite a big hack. And then in the end, it was funny because the attacker has started to return the funds now to Poly Network. And I think so far they have returned, I think it was like something like $40 million worth of the funds or something like that. This story just keeps getting updated. I've seen it updated a few times. But yeah, they're returning the funds. But also what ended up happening was that this attacker actually got identified. One of the accounts, I can't remember which account it was, but one account I saw on Twitter tweeted out saying, we've identified this person, we know their IP address, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I think that caused the attacker to basically panic and be like, oh crap, basically they found this exploit, but they were really amateur about their OPSEC. Apparently, they had sent funds from a centralized exchange, which they had KYC on, to the address that they performed the exploit with and were moving funds to. So this whole thing was just like complete amateur hour. And what was hilarious as well, at least, I mean, not hilarious that people lost money, but what was hilarious to me is that no one had heard of this project on Twitter. Like Poly Network or O3, whatever, apparently it was part of the Neo ecosystem. And like the ontology ecosystem and things like that, but no one that I know had ever heard of this. Like I talked to heaps of people about this, and everyone was like, "How did this project have so much funds in it?" And it actually spoke to the East-West divide that we're seeing in crypto. And this project was based in Asia, and a lot of the users were based there and were kind of like either from China or other parts of Asia, kind of interacting with this, and that's where all the money came from. And it really just shows like how big of a divide there still is between those markets now. Whether that's because of the language barrier or the cultural barrier, I think it's a bit of both. But it's just insane to me that literally no one that I spoke to, who pretty much all of them, I guess, like were based in the US or Europe. Some of them are in Southeast Asia, but things like that. But I think this was like heavy Chinese users in there. But essentially, like, none of them had heard of this ever, and it's just weird that there was like this much money in there and people hadn't heard of it, and so this whole thing was just like very, very weird. But I guess like good that the attacker is returning the funds here, but I don't think that's going to spare them from any kind of repercussions if they actually are kind of like doxed, if they are known, and they have been found out. Well, then they're definitely going to face repercussions here, whether that be through the legal system or kind of like someone just kind of doxing them publicly and basically, they'll be on the run for the rest of their life or something like that. Something crazy. It's just, this whole thing has just been wild to witness. And I wrote a bit more about this in the Daily Gwei newsletter today, where I basically explained that these things are like real-time heists, right? Where as soon as the first announcement is made on Twitter that a hack has happened, everyone in the world can automatically see it and follow it. Like you could go on Etherscan, follow along the transactions, follow along in any messages being sent, and there's people updating it. I mean, the block's really fast here. They update they put the story out and they update it. Then there's people breaking down what exploit actually happened and everything like that. And this is all done within a few hours. Whereas if you were to try to monitor something like this in a traditional finance system, you wouldn't even hear about it for a couple of years because it would be completely opaque. It would be an internal thing where everyone would be kind of internally would be trying to fix this, and you'd never kind of like hear about it until the end, where maybe someone got fined, or like there was a slap on the wrist, or maybe someone went to jail or something like that, and you really have no idea. Whereas within hours, you just basically have a full diagnosis and analysis of what happened during one of these kind of like hacks or exploits or rug pulls, whatever you want to call them, which I think is just absolutely really cool about crypto. I just think it's awesome that we can learn from these hacks and learn from these exploits really quickly, and essentially be able to kind of like piece together an analysis in just like such record time. I mean, I think within a couple of hours there were already early preliminary analysis on these sorts of on this kind of like exploit here, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, I think that's like the TLDR there on everything. The block has probably some of the best coverage on this, so you should definitely go check out their coverage on it. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that for now, and I'll probably talk about this more if there's any kind of like updates on this throughout the week. So Frank Chaparro from The Block put out a tweet today saying that Coinbase has confirmed that it has been working with Elon Musk, SpaceX, and Tesla, and as part of their Q2 earnings, the firm said that it counts 10 out of the top 100 hedge funds as its clients. Dan Loeb's Third Point is a client, according to the firm as well, and you can see the actual release here on The Block. It's basically a kind of like news release here from Frank detailing this in a bit more kind of like detail there. And on top of that, I think here, Jon Geenty posted here from Coinmetrics saying that the percentage of ETH traded on Coinbase was actually more than the percentage of ETH traded for Q2, I believe, of 2021. You can see here, ETH accounted for 26%, Bitcoin accounted for 24%, which, and I commented here saying, this is just another flippening under ETH's belt, because at this point in time, ETH and Ethereum has flipped Bitcoin in pretty much every conceivable metric. I mean, if you really think about it, the only thing left is market cap. And I think that's coming sooner rather than later for a variety of reasons. Obviously, I obviously truly believe in the flippening and stuff like that. But it's just insane to see like how far this has come. Like no longer is ETH the underdog to Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is pretty much becoming the underdog to Ethereum. And at the end of the day, it has no chance of kind of catching up with it. There's no kind of like innovation happening there. And if there is, it takes lots and lots of time to even just innovate on small things. Like, for example, I'm pretty sure Taproot had been in development and research for as long as 1559, if not longer, and Taproot really didn't do anything big for the Bitcoin network. It was more of a smaller upgrade, and it took, about the same amount of time, if not longer, than 1559 to be implemented, whereas 1559 actually did, a huge thing for the network, right? It started, it's working to fix the Ethereum fee market, and also it started burning ETH, which drove direct value back to ETH holders. So just like contrasting the two there is a pretty big deal, I think. But yeah, I mean, just pretty insane to see like how far ETH has come. I mean, you can see here the percentage like has been catching up over time. You can see in Q2 of 2020, which was just a year ago, Bitcoin accounted for 57% of the trading volume on Coinbase, and with Ethereum only accounting for 15%. And now like it's much bigger. And also the other crypto assets category has ballooned to 50%, but that's been constant, I guess, over the last few months. But generally, that's the thing you want to watch. Like, who's the king of these kind of markets? And I've been noticing this as well, like watching the markets and things like that. I mean, I'm not a trader, but I do kind of like to watch the volumes and stuff like that, because that definitely tells a story about like what assets people are interested in trading. And I think just more people are interested in trading ETH, buying ETH, like investing in ETH. And a lot of people are buying ETH because they need that to do things on the Ethereum network. And now that we're burning this ETH, we're literally removing ETH from the active floating supply, because people have to buy ETH from the floating supply to use as gas fees, and then most of that gets burned. It's just quite amazing to see how that's been playing out. And I guess like on the 1559 note as well, the ultrasound money website has now been updated. You have a 1 hour burn leaderboard, 2 extra burn leaderboard rows, fee burn time ranges, 1 hour, 24 hour, etc., and burn rate in ETH per minute here. So this is quite cool that they're still updating it here. And another tweet from Ultrasound Money they put out today was that there was a new burn records. 50 ETH, or almost 50 ETH, was burnt in a single block, which I'd like to call an ultrasound block, because obviously we burn more ETH than we issued, because only 2 ETH is issued per block. And there was 624 ETH burned in 5 minutes as well, because what ended up happening that there was this NFT drop today from Voxels or something like that, and obviously people like tried to FOMO in and whatever, and a lot of ETH got burned because of that. So now, as I've been saying, like before 1559 went live, I was like, I hope these NFT projects just wait till it's live, because then we can just burn ETH and we can basically have like a positive externality from the gas fee skyrocketing in price here. But yeah, I mean, and then they said Ultra Mark 150, which means that it was like extremely deflationary for that period of time, which was quite cool to see. There's more 1559 stuff I wanted to talk about. Yeah, so here from Alex from Nansen said that around half of all newly issued ETH since 1559 was rolled out has already been burned, which is crazy, right? I mean, you can see here new issued ETH was 50,000 and the burned was 25,000. So essentially the burn is accounting for 50% of the total issuance, which means we've already dropped issuance. We basically did a Bitcoin halvening, right? Like where whenever the Bitcoin halvening happens, it drops issuance by 50% from the block reward, but we've essentially done it by not reducing the block reward, but reducing the total kind of like supply going to miners, because we're burning that in fee revenue. But also, like, as I've been talking about a lot, over the past few refills, when the merge happens, we're going to be doing 3 of these bad boys plus 1559. And I put out a tweet today saying 1559 was the appetizer. The merge is the main course. That is what all of this is working towards. And we're going to be dropping it by 90%, dropping issuance by 90%, and having a triple halving here. So at this point in time, ETH is already net deflationary if you count for like the proof of stake issuance, not the proof of work issuance. So yeah, just really, really cool to see that as well. And then also, this blew my mind today. Like, I had already known that that Ethereum was doing much more fee revenue than Bitcoin was doing. But when I compared these numbers like this, it absolutely blew my mind. So I put out this tweet where I said, the Ethereum network has burned $80 million worth of ETH fee revenue over the last 6 days. So it's been 6 days since 1559 went live. And the Bitcoin network has only generated $3.6 million worth of fees over the same time period with no BTC being burned. So that fee revenue doesn't really mean anything. Right, that's just going to miners to be dumped. Whereas Ethereum burned $80 million worth of fee revenue, but there was still another kind of, I guess, like 30% or more of that, or 25% maybe, more that was still went to miners, right? So we probably had over $100 million worth of fee revenue over the last 6 days, of which 75% of it was burned, which is just insane to me. Like, it's so crazy to me that Bitcoin relies on fee revenue for its security, whereas Ethereum is not going to, because it's going to have a perpetual block reward in even under proof of stake. But the Bitcoin network just really isn't being used at all. I think the 24-hour fees for Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network, is $600,000, whereas for Ethereum today it was $25 million. So it's just absolutely insane to see the difference here. And you know, this difference over the last 6 days is a 22 times difference. So Ethereum is burning 22 times more fee revenue than the Bitcoin network is actually generating in that kind of like same period of time there. So really, I mean, as Eric says here, it's almost as if trying to improve the protocol instead of reading it as a sacred text is beneficial. And that's what Ethereum has always been about. We're not like, okay, well, this was the monetary policy at the start. We're going to keep it that way forever because that's the right way to do it. No, we're going to keep iterating. We're going to keep improving, which I think is really, really positive, obviously. And I just think it's mind-blowing when you put these things side by side. And I mean, I don't like to compare Ethereum to Bitcoin too much because I really do think it really is comparing apples and oranges. But at the end of the day, I think Ethereum is going to be much bigger than Bitcoin anyway. And Bitcoin's just like one stepping stone on Ethereum's dominance metrics. Because I think I've been saying for a while that once Ethereum flips Bitcoin, the narratives are going to change substantially, and that's it. Like, I don't actually think a lot of Ethereum people are going to talk about Bitcoin anymore, really. I think it just becomes, not to bash it too much, but I really just think it becomes irrelevant. Like, if Bitcoin's no longer number one, like, why would people want to buy? Like, I'm not going to get into it. Like, but I just don't understand. Like, if you say Bitcoin is number two, then all these narratives kind of like fall apart. Like, you know, Bitcoin being the best, you know, stacked sats are out, you lose like everything else. Like, trading altcoins is stupid or whatever, you lose money. Like, all these narratives just completely fall apart and become just like anyone spouting them off just becomes viewed as being insane. And I think a lot of people kind of like who are on, you know, in the camp of saying, you know, Bitcoin can never be dethroned, well, they're going to have like a come into Jesus moment, like, I think. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for now. I wonder if I have anything else. No, that was it about 1559. So there's a few more project updates to get through. Lemonade Alpha, who is basically an Index Co-op community member, put out today that in 2021, Index Co-op's unincentivized TVL, assets under management that are not taking advantage of incentive programs, aka liquidity mining, has grown from 11 million to 257 million, 47% of total TVL to 93%. So I love this metric. So I've spoken about this on the refuel before, but what this metric tracks is basically, say you have a protocol that's doing liquidity mining, and say 90% of the liquidity in there is only in there because it's mining those token rewards. Well, then you can have relative certainty that if those liquidity mining rewards go away, most of that liquidity is also going away. Now, the beautiful thing about the Index Co-op is that they've been really focused on this unincentivized TVL metric, which essentially is at 93% now. So 93% of the total TVL as part of the Index Co-op is not farming, is not part of any liquidity mining programs. There is no incentives in there. It's literally just people buying the product or investing in the product because they actually want to do it, not because they're getting some kind of token out of it, which I think is the metric that every project should be tracking. I don't think this should just be exclusive to Index Co-op. I think we should be ranking every project based on their unincentivized TVL, because it's very, very easy if you're a DeFi project to issue a token or to do liquidity mining incentives and say you have all this TVL, but really as soon as those incentives dry up, a lot of the time that most of that TVL is going to leave, and it really just doesn't help anyone for you to kind of like, I guess, say you have all this TVL because you have a token sort of thing. So yeah, just wanted to kind of point that metric out again. I think it's one of the best that we have for measuring kind of like actual total value, you know, real, you know, organic total value locked in these protocols, rather than something that essentially is only there to earn some kind of like tokens, farm and dump, and then kind of like leave the protocol. So HopProtocol announced kind of another feature for their bridge today, where you can now withdraw MATIC tokens instantly from Polygon to Ethereum or XDAI without having to wait 7 days. So this is a first for the MATIC token, as they're saying here, and this is a litmus test for Hop to access demand for fast exit. So I guess they're trying a two-pronged approach here. They're trying to see like how much demand there actually is for instant withdrawals of something of tokens from Polygon to Ethereum or XDAI, and also testing it for the MATIC token, and then kind of like extrapolating it from there and saying, okay, well, let's add other tokens to this, and we can do instant withdrawals with this as well. So this is really cool. And I was just talking about liquidity mining. Well, I think okay, so maybe I'll take a step back with liquidity mining. I don't want to say that liquidity mining is a bad thing. I think it can actually help to bootstrap liquidity for things that kind of like need bootstrapping. For example, a bridge protocol like HopProtocol needs to bootstrap liquidity for these pools in order to offer those instant exits. Because the way Hop works is essentially it has a pool called HMATIC and MATIC on the AMM, and what ends up happening is that HMATIC stands for HopMatic, and that's like a token that the liquidity providers take on, and instead of like the MATIC, and then the end user gets the MATIC, and at the end, after the 7-day withdrawal period is done, the liquidity providers get that MATIC, and they swap the HMATIC for it and whatever. So that's the only way that you can kind of like get around that, is basically someone else takes on the risk of this kind of 7-day withdrawal period or whatever. But in order to bootstrap liquidity there, you need to put liquidity mining on there. And that's what they've done. They're going to be distributing $400,000 worth of MATIC to attract and sustain deep liquidity in that pool. And I think this is the proper way to use it. You shouldn't use it as a way to attract liquidity just for the sake of attracting liquidity. You should have a goal in mind about what you want to do. And I worked with the Index Corp early on because I was working at SET early on, and we actually had a targeted approach here where we said we're going to revisit the liquidity mining program once a month, and we're going to make sure that it's only for the DeFi Pulse Index originally. We're going to make sure that we're only incentivizing it enough, and then slowly wean people off it, and we can see who actually wants to be in there and who actually wants to hold the DeFi Pulse Index rather than who's just there for farming. And it was just a way to bootstrap liquidity for the DPI as well, which I thought was a pretty good way of doing it. And it's the same thing with where a HopProtocol is doing it here. So yeah, I love seeing kind of stuff like that. And I love seeing these bridges go live. I mean, speaking of bridges, like Biconomy also put out a bridge yesterday. They announced Hyphen, which is they're calling instant cross-chain transfers, which is what I'm calling a bridge. And starting with USDC and USDT, you can now transfer between Ethereum and Polygon in seconds by using this tool. So, I mean, how many bridges do we have now, right? Like Connext, HopProtocol, Seller Network, Biconomy, Starkware announced a bridge the other day. I'm sure there's others that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But like we now have at least 5 bridges between, I mean, they're all doing between like Ethereum and Polygon, but pretty soon they're all going to be adding these L2s like Optimism and Arbitrum and things like that as well. So, we just have so many options now. It's just amazing. People were kind of like talking about, all the liquidity is going to get fragmented because of like L2s and cross-chain stuff. Like, it's going to be a bad user experience, but there's already all of these solutions coming to life and basically already live and letting people kind of like transfer the assets they actually care about transferring quickly, because really, at the end of the day, you don't really care too much about transferring every asset quickly in and out, because on a lot of these layer 2s, you'll have ways to trade in and out of them. So say you have some random ERC20 token and you want to trade it for ETH or some stable coin, well, you'll be able to do that on the layer 2. And then you'll say to yourself, okay, well, I want to get these funds out of layer 2 and onto a centralized exchange, or to cash to fiat, or I want to go to layer 1 to do something else that I can't do on layer 2 right now. Well, most of the time, people are only going to care about transferring out stable coins and ETH. So that's why a lot of these projects are starting with ETH and stablecoins first, rather than all these other random ERC20 tokens. And as I said, the way a lot of these bridges work, or pretty much all of them work, is that they have liquidity pools that sit in the middle between these chains. And basically, they have people taking on the risk, or liquidity providers taking on the risk in there. So, bootstrapping that for like pretty much every token is going to be very, very hard. Whereas doing it for USDT or doing it for stablecoins and ETH and other popular assets like maybe wrapped Bitcoin, things like that, is the kind of right approach, I think. So I'm really glad to see all this playing out. I mean, I'm super excited. Like, when Arbitrum goes live, I think it's going to be a real test of these bridges too, because they're all going to add Arbitrum support. I mean, I think the bridges are already getting a lot of usage with Polygon because Polygon is heavily used. We already have like a single bridges as well, like Ronin going to Axie Infinity. Axie Infinity's bridge going from Ethereum to Ronin. They call it the Ronin bridge because Ronin is their sidechain. That's getting heavy usage. I mean, that's one of the top ETH burners. That's how you can kind of tell it's getting heavy usage. So yeah, I mean, the bridge ecosystem is growing, and it's going to be like mature before we even have probably most of the L2s mature, which is quite amazing to see. And I'm really glad to see that the infrastructure is kind of coming to life much faster than I think a lot of people thought it would. So this new project that launched yesterday, PaperclipDAO, caught my interest because what they're trying to do, from my understanding, is they're trying to trade up. This DAO is trying to trade themselves up to a rare NFT or like a really expensive NFT. Now, the reason why they called PaperclipDAO is because some of you may not have heard of this story. I don't know if this story is true or not, but there was a story. If you search like Paperclip trading up to a house or something like that, you'll probably be able to read it. But the TLDR is that apparently some guy started off with a paperclip, right? And he kept trading that paperclip for other, he traded that paperclip for another item, and then he traded that item for another one, and he kept trading for more and more valuable items until eventually he got to a house. So the story goes that he traded it up from a paperclip to a house by doing this. Now, that's where PaperclipDAO comes in, where they basically say, oh, okay, let's start with like a really kind of, I guess, like valueless kind of NFT, and then let's trade ourselves up to like a really valuable one while going through the motions here, which I think is pretty cool, right? Like I think this is a cool concept, and there's also like these things of clip tokens here that anyone who successfully trades with the PaperclipDAO gets clip tokens, so they can actually join the DAO and continue to create the story. So essentially, it works as like a two-pronged approach here, where people can trade into these NFTs or kind of like into the DAO by going to SuperRare, which is like a trade matching kind of engine, and they can also join PaperclipDAO by doing these trades, right? So it's like a two-pronged approach to get more people involved, and the more people involved in the DAO, the more trades that go on, the more chance there is of trading themselves up to a better kind of like better NFT and a rarer NFT. And you could imagine the logical conclusion here. Imagine if the PaperclipDAO gets so big that they trade themselves up to a alien CryptoPunk, like $100 million or something like that. I mean, who knows if it's going to get that wild, but I think bringing that story that I just told you guys about to Ethereum is really interesting, and that's why this kind of caught my eye here. And I mean, also like the Link artwork. I mean, I love Zelda, so I'm a sucker for that kind of artwork. It just draws me in. But yeah, cool to see this project. I'm going to be following along with it. Maybe I'll join the DAO as well. I haven't done a trade with them yet, but I might join the DAO here as well. It seems like a very, very cool project. So SuperRare is teasing their token. They say that they have exciting news coming Thursday, which is tomorrow. I mean, I've been telling you guys for a while, every single project that has got anything to do with crypto is going to have a token eventually. We just saw DYDX the other day announce their token. SuperRare is now teasing their token. I mean, I've said like all these NFT platforms are going to have tokens like OpenSea and Maker's Place and Foundation and all those sorts of things. They're all going to eventually have tokens. But SuperRare is one of the older, I think, NFT platforms. They definitely they're focused on art, so they're focused on like curating art pieces rather than being an open marketplace or something like OpenSea. But it's pretty cool that they're going to basically have a token as well. I think generally I'm very pro token because I think tokens are a great coordination mechanism, and I think they're going to have like an airdrop as well. I mean, at this point in time, if you don't have an airdrop to your early users, at least, you kind of like shoot yourself in the foot. I think people lose interest if you don't airdrop them a token if they were an early user of your platform, because they're basically like, well, I got rugged, I deserve tokens. I mean, there's a little bit of entitlement there, but I think it's deserved, because if you really did like help bootstrap the platform early on, whether that's kind of like buying and selling NFTs on there or becoming an artist on there, you really should get a share of, I guess, like the pie when they decide to tokenize. And I think a lot of projects get this, and a lot of projects are doing these airdrops. So I would expect SuperRare to be doing an airdrop. Now, that's not to say that you can go on SuperRare right now, start buying and selling NFTs in anticipation of this airdrop. I'm pretty sure they would have already taken the snapshot before they announced that they have a token coming. So you might get rugged if you try to do it now, if you're just trying to buy and sell NFTs on there in order to get this token. So I'm not suggesting you do that, but for those of you who have done this kind of like previously, I mean, I bought an artwork on there, so I'm looking forward to getting a bit of tokens as well. But you'll probably get tokens, but we'll have to see. I'll be reporting on this on, I guess, like Thursday, maybe Friday's refuel, and seeing what they have in store for us at SuperRare. All right, last up here, just a quick shout out to ETHGlobal, who have announced their biggest event of the year, which is ETHOnline. So any hackers or any developers that want to get involved with this hackathon, you'll be able to join all your fellow hackers from around the world from September 17th to October 15th to compete for over $150,000 worth of prizes and build the future of Web3. You can sign up now at online.ethglobal.com. I know that sounded like a little bit like an advertisement, but I am not paid by ETHGlobal or anything like that. But I am a judge. I have been a judge multiple times on ETHGlobal hackathons, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a judge at ETHOnline as well. So I'm really excited for this, and really, I mean, this is the best way to get your project in front of like people that you would really love to get it in front of. Like the judges that they have, the speakers that they have are just like awesome. Some of the most amazing Ethereum community members, and you'll get some of the best mentoring as well while kind of like participating in this. So if you're a dev or want to be a dev or just want to build something cool, online.ethglobal.com, sign up there. And as I said, it starts on September 17th. So you still got a bit of time, about a month out, maybe 5 weeks out from here. But yeah, go sign up if you're interested in that. But I think that's it for today. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give that video a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.